All right, so in this week's lesson, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite guitar players, and that's Lonnie Johnson. He's somebody that I don't think gets talked about enough, at least in the guitar hero category. He's not a name that you typically associate with that, but I've always thought he was your traditional blues guy, but with a little bit more class. He's got a little more kind of a jazzy vibe, and so this is my humble attempt at trying to sound like him. I've even gone so far as to have a guitar just like the one he played. This is a K value leader, and I bought this, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago on, I think I found it on Reverb or somewhere online. But anyway, I just had to have one like his. I've seen videos of him playing, and I always thought it looked so cool. So that's what this guitar is for those of you that are interested in that. But you don't have to have a K value leader to be able to sound like Lonnie Johnson. It's a pretty clean channel sound. You can do this on an acoustic or electric guitar. And everything we're going to be playing is the minor pentatonic scale. I mean, believe it or not, this is all really just minor pentatonic scale. We are going to add a note to that, which I'll discuss in just a minute. But for the most part, it's pattern 1, minor pentatonic scale, stuff that you already know. So we're going to break down everything I played note for note, so you'll have this great standalone composition that you can play by yourself. You don't need a jam track or any other musicians to play with, and you can just grab your guitar and sound great by yourself. I've got the lesson split into 2 parts, so in this video we'll look at the first half of what I played. If you'd like to learn the second half and download the tablature and also access the on-screen tab viewer, you can get those things by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP405. All right, so before we jump into this, if you're not familiar with Lonnie Johnson, you got to check out this album. You can look on YouTube and find it even. It's called Lonnie Johnson, The Folkways Sessions. I think it's the Sessions, but it's Folkways, Folkways. Look that up. It's an album with, like 20-something tracks, and it's all just him and a guitar. And to me, that's always the quintessential musician, somebody that can just do it all on their own. They don't have to have anything to back them up. And so there's a few instrumentals on that. And actually, what we're going to be playing here, I didn't steal anything of his directly, but I borrowed a bunch of his licks. And so we're going to start this thing off with something that I've heard him do, which goes like this. A lot of sliding everything up a fret. You know, you'll do something here and then you'll go up a fret and then back, you know, or the other way around. But he does a lot of that where he's just sliding up a half step through his chords. So we're going to start off with a G chord. And this is just your typical G bar chord where you're using the E shape out of cage. But you don't need to make it like this. You can make it like this. And I would encourage you to do this going forward for the most part, depending on what you're trying, you know, you may need those lower strings for something. But for the most part, you can get by with playing these chords with just 4 strings instead of all 6. And the reason for that is it frees your pinky up to be able to do little embellishments like that. Or you can play, you know, little licks and things off of those chord shapes. So to make this chord, we're just borrowing the first 2 strings here on the 3rd fret. 4th fret, 3rd string, 5th fret, 4th string. And we're playing those top 4 strings. So I started with that, which is a G chord. My pinky goes down now on the 5th fret, 1st string, which converts that to a G add 9 if you want to get specific. But I just think of it as a little embellishment I can do off of this chord. And then so I play that, and then I take my finger back off, my pinky off, and then do a hammer-on pull-off with it. So all together it goes. And then I go string 2 and string 3 with the pick. So when you put that together, that little intro part goes. Let me do that again. So you're just going to have to practice doing that hammer-on pull-off with your pinky. If you're new to that, it might be a little bit of a challenge, but you can do this. Works on an acoustic as well. And then I strummed it at the end there. Now, slide that up, everything up 1 fret, and we're going to be playing the same thing, but over a G sharp. And that's a traditional Lonnie Johnson kind of move there to do something over 1 chord shape, move it up, and play the same thing in a slightly higher position. Then we go back to the G. It almost has a Spanish feel to me. And anytime you're going up a half step and back, that's sort of a Spanish move. Okay, so after we come back down, then I play this. All to get us to the 4 chord. Now that sounds like a lot, but you're going to find out it's just minor pentatonic scale pattern 1 with the addition of 1 note. So we're going to start off up here on the 6th fret 1st string, and then come down to the 3rd fret 1st string. And you can see what we're playing. This is pattern 1 of that minor pentatonic scale for G. It's a G minor pentatonic scale. So we're going to start off with hitting that twice. And then you can see it's walking right down the pentatonic scale. 6th fret 2nd string, 3rd fret 2nd string, 5th fret 3rd fret on the 3rd string, down to the 5th fret 4th string. So now let's come back up here to the 3rd fret 1st string and walk right back down the pentatonic scale. So that's 3, 6, 3, 5, 3. Just straight down the scale. Now once we get to here, I'm going to come to this note. This is that extra note that I talked about. So this is the 5th fret 2nd string. Let me show you how to play this, then I'll just explain this real quick. So we have 5th fret 2nd string. So after that, we're just going to walk right down between frets 3 and 5. Watch this. We're going to go 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. It was pretty simple. I mean, it's a little pattern there. Down to the 3rd fret 5th string, but play that with your ring finger. You'll see why in just a minute. So all together, this lick goes. Now when you come down to this, the reason I said use your ring finger is because you're going to go ahead and play that C7 chord there. Just a C chord, but you add your pinky to the 3rd fret 4th string. Now this one extra note that we added, that would be your 6th interval in the G major scale. So if I played the G major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's the 6th interval. So if you add that note to your G chord, you're playing a G6 chord. That's where that number comes from. And that's a note that you can add to your minor pentatonic scale to give it a little more class. So if you're just walking down, it just jazzes it up a little bit by adding that note, adding that 6th interval. All right, let's take this from the beginning. Right? Really cool. I love that. It's just all on the beat. It's a series of triplets. Triplet, dot, 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 dot. If you thought last week's Dickie Betts lesson was full of triplets, this one is even worse. So once we come to the 4 chord, or that C7 chord, I just played it through, or picked the notes out of it. So it's 5, 4, 3, 2. And then I went and played the sharp, or the 4 sharp diminished 7 chord. So that would be your C sharp diminished 7. And that's a classic blues move. If you're going from the 4 chord back to the 1 chord, you can play the 4 chord, the sharp of that 4 chord, the sharp diminished 7 of that 4 chord, I should say, and then back to the 1 chord. So to make that, you've got your little D7 shape that you know down in 1st position. Just slide that up a fret, add your index finger here to the 2nd fret 4th string, and play those 4 notes, those top 4 strings. And that's that C sharp diminished 7 chord. So you have C7, C sharp diminished 7, and then we go back to the G, and I play. And then after that, I played another minor pentatonic lick. And this is very similar to the one we just played, where we're going between the 5th fret and the 3rd fret. So we're starting on the 8th fret 2nd string with a half bend, and then I'm coming up to the 3rd fret 1st string. And after that, I'm going to walk right down. Watch this. Just down to the 5 chord. And I'm hitting that with my ring finger, just like we did for the 4 chord. We're going to do the same chord shape here for the 5 chord, which would be our D7. So we have... Now watch this. Up a half step, just like we did before, and then back down. Now, that could be a light bulb moment for a lot of you. Maybe you haven't thought about this, but anytime you're playing chords, you can always do this. Anytime. So it doesn't have to just be a Lonnie Johnson style. You can work that, and that's really popular when you're playing over the 5 chord. To go up a half step and then back down. It just classes it up a little bit, and it's so easy to do. Let's take it from the beginning up to that point. Play up to that point. And then to conclude this final lick is a classic Lonnie Johnson lick. I love it. So let's look at this. We're going to go 3, 4, 5 on the 2nd string up to the 3rd fret 1st string. And then we're going to come back down 5th fret 3rd fret on the 2nd string. So just look at that first. Now some of you are going, wait a minute. Now this note, this 4th fret 2nd string, that's definitely not minor pentatonic scale. You're right, it's not, but chromatically is what we're doing there. So here's that extra 6th interval that I mentioned. Well, the 3rd fret is already in the minor pentatonic scale. So anytime you've got 2 notes, you can always fill in the space in between and play chromatically. And it works. As long as you don't land on that note, it works. It's just another technique. So we got... And after this, we're going to play the C minor chord, the minor 4, it's a little triad there. So that's a stair step shape, 3rd fret 1st string, 4th fret 2nd string, 5th fret 3rd string. And I played 3, 2, 1, and then back to the G chord. So, and I hear Lonnie Johnson using that all the time. I had to work that into this. It's a really cool way to resolve. Usually you would play the 4 major. You'd play or R7. But he does this minor thing. He takes the 4 chord and plays a minor. It's very cool. And I've heard the Beatles do that. You got a 4 chord, a minor 4 chord, resolved to the 1 chord. It's a nice little tension thing. But I have only heard Lonnie Johnson do that in the blues. I can't think of anyone else. Okay, so that's the lick. Now after that I went to get to the 5 chord and to the turnaround. This is the same thing. It's the minor pentatonic scale. We've already played these notes. We're starting the same way we started in the beginning. 6th fret 1st string to the 3rd fret 1st string. We do that twice. And then you go down to the 2nd string and play those same frets. And then we're going to go 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. So you can see we're back to playing between the 5th fret and the 3rd fret. Make sure you play that with your ring finger so you can play your D7 chord. And this D7, it's the same as your C7 that we learned down here. We're just sliding it up. And that's another way to play it. That's the entire first part. And if you're a premium member, you have access to the tablature, which will make this a lot easier because especially with the on-screen tab viewer, you can loop sections if you want to slow them down. You can change the tempo. You can control all of that and really get in under the hood. But hopefully, if you get nothing else out of this, first of all, you've got a great little composition you can play, but you've got some licks that you can play, like some of the... work those into your blues, these little chromatic runs and things. They're so much fun. Even these little half steps. All right, let me back up and I'll play through this part 1 one more time and come join us in the part 2 video. If you're not a premium member, look into it. Totally worth it. I have in-depth videos like this that I put out every week and have about 10 years worth of them. You'd have access to all of that. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.